Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for all your support. Today we'll be making a lovely peplum blouse. I'll be using this fabric for it. This is African print. I have 3 years of African print here. I have 3 years by 45, but I will use 2 years plus. I'm going to cut the upper part of the blouse. This is for the front. It's folded into 2. This is for the back. It's folded into 2. The back is 1 inch bigger than the front because of 1 inch zip allowance. 1 inch for zip allowance. From this line to this line is 9 inches, half of her round armhole. Her round armhole is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. This is 9 inches. From starting line to this line is 16.5 inches. Her half length is 16 inches plus half inch seam allowance to join it to the lower part. I folded the fabric with her biggest measurement, which is 40. 40 divided by 4, because the fabric is folded into 4, is 10 inches, plus 2 inches seam allowance is 12 inches. All the measurement will start from this center line. I have 12.5. I'll mark her shoulder measurement. Her shoulder is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8 plus half inch seam allowance is 8.5. From this shoulder line, I'll come down by 1 inch shoulder slant. Her neck width is 3 inches. Her back neck depth is 1 inch. Front neck depth is 3 inches. 3 inches. I'll connect the back neckline and front neckline. So this shoulder slant, I'll connect it to neck width. 1 inch shoulder slant. On this line, I'll mark the same measurement that I have here, 8.5. I'll connect it. Her bust measurement is 40. 40 divided by 4 is 10 plus 1 inch for seam allowance, 11 inches. Her waist measurement is 33. 33 divided by 4 is 8.25. Plus 1 inch for that and 1 inch seam allowance, 10.25. I'll connect it. I'll get the midpoint to connect the back armhole. This is back armhole. From this midpoint, I'll come in by 0.75 to connect the front armhole. I'm going to mark the dart. To mark the dart, I will use half of her bust span measurement. Her bust span measurement is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4. I'll mark 4 inches. Her bust point is 10 inches. I'll come down by 1 inch, 11 inches. From her bust point 10 inches, I'll come down by 1 inch, 11 inches. So from shoulder, I'm using 11 inches. On this waistline, I'll mark half inch, half inch. This line is 4 inches, half of her bust span measurement. This is half inch, half inch. I'll connect it. I'm going to cut it. I'll cut the back one first. After that, I'll trim the front one. But I'll add seam allowance to join the shoulder. I'll add half inch. I added half inch to join the shoulder. Now I'm going to cut it. I'll cut the back neckline first. So this is the back. I'll cut it into 2. For zip, I'm going to remove the back one, but I will notch the dart 4 inches, the center line. This is for the back. I'll trim the front neckline and armhole. So here I'll mark 3 inches. This is center front neckline. I'll come in by half inch and slant it to this point. I'll trim it off. I'll trim the armhole, front armhole. So this is for the front. I'm going to cut the lower part of the blouse. To cut the lower part of the blouse, I'll minus the upper part of the blouse from the full length of the blouse. The full length of the blouse is 25 inches. The upper part is 16 inches. From shoulder to her half length is 16 inches. 16 minus 25 is 9 inches. I need seam allowance to join it to the upper part and seam allowance to hem it. I will use 1 inch. But if you don't have overlocker, because I will use half inch to join it to the upper part and half inch to hem it. But if you don't have overlocker, you will use 1 inch to hem it and half inch to join it. So you will use 1.5 inches seam allowance. So but I'm going to use 1 inch. So 1 inch plus 9 inches is 10 inches. So the length of the lower part that I will cut is 10 inches. Because it's full circle, I'm going to get her waist radius. I'll work with her waist measurement. Her waist measurement is 33. 33 plus 2 inches for zip allowance is 35 inches. 35 inches, I will divide it by 6.28. 6.28 is formula for full circle. 35 divided by 6.28 is 5.5. So 10 plus 5.5 is 15.5. 5.5 is waist radius and 10 inches is the length of the lower part, is 15.5. So to fold the fabric, I'll measure 15.5. On this side, I'll make sure that I have 15.5 times 2, which is 31 inches. I have 31 inches. 31 inches. Or I'll measure 15.5 and fold it and make sure that I have 15.5 on this side and fold it. So on this side, I'll measure 15.5 because I'll fold it again. So I'll make sure that I have 15.5 times 2 on this side also. 15.5. So this is the folded side. So here I'll mark 5.5 waist radius and connect it. From this 5.5, I'll measure 10 inches, the length of the lower part and seam allowance. This is 5.5. From this 5.5, I measured 10 inches. From upper part here, I measured what I have. From here, I have 15.5. I measured 15.5. So now I'm going to cut it. So this is what I have. I'll cut it for zip. This is the sleeve, it's basic sleeve. The sleeve length is 11 inches, 10 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance, half inch to join it to the lower part and half inch to join it to the blouse. So after stitching it, this part will be 10 inches because her sleeve length is 19 inches. So I will use this to make up the length of the sleeve. To cut this out, you will use ×3 of your round sleeve measurement or more, depending on how full you want it. Her round sleeve measurement is 13 inches because it's folded into 2. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5 plus 1 inch seam allowance, 7.5. I have 7.5. So, but I have 44 inches. I have 44 inches. So, her full length of sleeve is 19 inches. After stitching, this upper part will be 10 inches, so I need 9 inches to make it up. But because of the style of the sleeve, I added more than 9 inches. What I have here is, I have 14.5. 14.5, 1.5 inches is half inch to join it to this and 1 inch to make casing for elastic at the lower part. Then 9 inches is the length of the sleeve plus 1.5 is 10.5. So I added extra 4 inches because she will pull it because of the type of the sleeve. This is for the other sleeve. So what I'll do now, I will gather this upper part because I'm going to stitch it to this side. I'm going to gather this upper part to this measurement. After that, I'll put it right side together and stitch it together. I'll do the same on this. This is the sleeve. I'll fold it this way, right side. I will stitch it using 1 inch seam allowance to the end. After that, I will now make casing for elastic. I will fold 1/4 inch in, 0.75 because I have 1 inch for it. You can fold 1/2 inch, 1 inch, you will stitch on it round, but you will leave 1 inch space, 1 inch opening, so that you pass elastic from there. After that, it will be like this. I'll pass elastic from here. This is for the back. This center back line, I came in by 1/2 inch and slanted to this side. And slant it this way. So I'm going to trim it off. So from this point, I'll measure another zip allowance, 1 inch zip allowance. So what I'll do next is to sew the darts. Her chest line, I'll come down by 1 inch. Her chest line is 9 inches. I'll come down by 1 inch, which is 10 inches. So from this upper part, I'll measure 10 inches plus 1/2 inch that I added, 10.5 inches. So I'll measure 10.5 inches. This is 10.5 inches. So I'll fold it this way. This is notch for the darts. I'll fold it this way. I'll mark 1/2 inch and stitch the darts. I'll do the same on this. This is for the front. I'll stitch the darts. I'll hold it this way and stitch it. I'll do the same on this side. This is for the front. I've stitched the darts. I did the same on the back. The darts. You can use facing to tidy up this part or bias. I cut out a strip of bias from this fabric and use it to tidy up this part. What I'll do next is to stitch the front and the back together at the shoulder line. This is the right side together. I will stitch it using 1/2 inch seam allowance. Right side together using 1/2 inch seam allowance. After that, I will stitch the side using 1 inch seam allowance. I have 1 inch seam allowance. I'll stitch it together. What I'll do next is to stitch the lower part to the upper part. I'll get the midpoint. This is the midpoint, center front, the right side. This is the lower part. I'll get the midpoint. This is the midpoint. I'll put it this way. This is the waistline. The midpoint, the lower part, the midpoint, and the midpoint for the upper part, I'll pin them together. I'll go and stitch it. I've stitched the upper and lower part together at the waistline using 1/2 inch seam allowance. What I'll do next is to fix the zip. I'll fold it this way, right side, this way. From here, I will stitch this to the end. The zip will stop here. I'll stitch this to the end using 1 inch seam allowance. From this upper part, I'll come down by 1.5 inches. Zip allowance 1 inch. From this, zip will start from this point to this point. I'll fix the zip starting from this point to this point. The zip will stop here. After that, I will stitch this part. I'll fix the zip. And another way you can fix the zip is upside down. You must have hemmed the lower part. You fix the zip from down to where it stops. This way. So what I'll do next is to stitch this on the neckline. I have 60 inches here. This is the midpoint. I join it. If you want to join it, you will join it in a way that it will be in the middle. The joining will be in the middle. 60 inches by 5 inches. 60 by 5. I'll fold it this way, 2.5. I'll use half inch seam allowance to stitch it to the neckline. So what I'll do now, I'll measure the neckline from this point. I'll measure to this point, or you can measure it this way. I have 9 inches. 9 inches, which is 18 inches. So 9 inches, 18 inches. So what I'll do, this is the right side. I'll turn it this way. The right side will be inside because I'm going to stitch it. I'll turn it this way. I'll fold it at the middle. I'll measure 9 inches. This is 9 inches. I will notch it. I will stitch this way to the notch. This side I will do the same to the notch. After that, I will turn it to the right side and give it a good press. This is the right side. I will stitch it to the neckline. This is center back line. This is the midpoint, the middle, the midpoint. So I'll pin it this way. I'll pin it at the center back line. I will stitch it this way from center back line to this point. I will do the same on this side from center back line to this point. I've stitched it. What I'll do next is to use this side to cover the seam. You will fold half inch in, half inch in, and use it to cover the seam, and put it this way and stitch on it on the edge. To this side. I've stitched it. What I'll do next is to fix the sleeve and hem the lower part. This is the sleeve. If you want, you will insert the elastic first. After that, you will fix the sleeve, or you fix the sleeve. After that, you will now insert the elastic. So to cut out the elastic, your round sleeve where the sleeve will stop, has is 19 inches. You put the elastic there, not too tight, and cut it out, or you use the round sleeve and cut it out. So this is pin. You use so you will now insert it through this opening. After that, it will be like this. You will stitch the two ends. You will stitch the two ends and pull it. After that, you will now stitch this opening. To fix the sleeve, this is for this side. This is the notch. You put it this way at the shoulder line. You pin it at the shoulder, the notch. So I'll fix the sleeve. I'll do the same on this side. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.